Hey, all you awesome Gen Zers out there, ready for today's deep dive?
I am.
It's all about emotional intelligence, or EI for short.
Ooh, good one.
It's this superpower that can seriously help you level up in life.
Definitely.
While everyone's out there chasing those tech skills.
Right.
A lot of people are sleeping on this secret weapon, emotional intelligence.
Yeah, so many people are missing out.
I've been hearing a ton about how EI is this key ingredient for success, even more than a crazy high IQ.
It really is.
So, to help us break down this whole EI thing,
Sure.
we've got our amazing expert here.
Happy to be here.
Let's dive right in. What exactly is emotional intelligence?
Okay, so basically it's your ability to really get your emotions, understand what's going on inside, and learn how to manage those feelings. And it's not just about you.
Okay.
It's about recognizing emotions in other people too.
So it's kind of like having a sixth sense for feelings.
Exactly.
Wow.
And let me tell you, for Gen Z, this is gold. Think about it. Stronger relationships, clearer communication, becoming a leader people actually want to follow.
Right.
EI is the foundation for all of that.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is such a big deal.
It's huge.
Now, I've heard that EI has these different parts to it.
It does.
Like different skills you need to master?
You got it.
Okay.
There are 4 key components.
Okay.
We call them the 4 pillars of EI.
4 pillars, nice.
Think of them as the building blocks for becoming an emotionally intelligent person.
All right, 4 pillars.
Yeah.
I'm ready to start building. What's the first one all about?
First up is self-awareness.
Okay.
This is all about getting to know yourself, your emotions, strengths, weaknesses, inside and out.
Right.
It's like having an inner GPS guiding you,
Okay.
helping you make choices that align with who you truly are.
I like that.
So it's about understanding yourself so you can make better decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see how that would be helpful, especially for us Gen Zers who are figuring out our place in the world.
Totally.
And here's the thing about self-aware people.
Yeah.
They tend to be more confident and creative,
Right.
which are huge assets no matter what you're trying to achieve.
For sure.
They're also less likely to just react impulsively, leading to better choices overall.
That makes sense.
So how do we actually boost our self-awareness? What are some things Gen Z can try to get better at this?
Yeah, what can we do?
One simple yet super effective technique is to start a journal.
Okay.
Take a few minutes each day to jot down what you're feeling and thinking.
Okay.
You'll start to see patterns, learn what your triggers are,
Right.
and basically become besties with your own emotions.
I love that. So journaling.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay, so we've laid the foundation with self-awareness.
We have.
What's the next pillar we need to build up?
Next up is self-regulation.
Okay.
It's like having that pause button we all wish we had when things get heated.
I wish I had that pause button sometime.
It's about choosing a thoughtful response
Right.
instead of just exploding with whatever emotion hits you first.
Oh, I definitely need to work on
I
that.
think we all do sometimes.
Sometimes my emotions feel like they're on a roller coaster.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
But think about how much smoother things would be
Oh, yeah.
if you could learn to control those emotional outbursts.
For sure.
Self-regulation helps you navigate tricky situations without losing your cool.
That's the dream. But seriously, any practical tips for keeping those emotions in check?
Sure.
Asking for a friend who may or may not have sent a few regrettable texts in the heat of the moment.
First things first. Breathe. When you feel those emotions starting to bubble up,
Yeah.
take a few deep breaths before you do anything else.
Got it.
It sounds simple, but it can make a world of difference.
It really can.
Also, try to recognize what triggers those strong emotions for you.
Okay.
Once you know your triggers,
Yeah.
you can start to develop strategies to deal with them.
That makes sense.
And sometimes the best thing to do is just step away from a heated situation until you've cooled down.
Deep breaths and strategic retreats.
Okay.
I like it. All right. What's the next stop on our EI pillar tour?
Let's talk about social awareness.
Okay.
This is all about empathy. Being able to walk a mile in someone else's shoes and genuinely understand their feelings.
Empathy. Yeah, that's a big one.
It is.
But isn't it hard to truly understand where someone else is coming from?
It can be.
Especially if you don't agree with them.
You're absolutely right. It can be tough.
Yeah.
But remember,
Okay.
empathy isn't about agreeing. It's about understanding.
Right.
It's about seeing things from their perspective, even if you wouldn't react the same way.
Okay, I'm seeing the difference.
Okay.
So how can we actually get better at this whole empathy thing?
One of the best things you can do is open yourself up to diverse perspectives.
How so?
Read books with characters who are different from you.
Okay.
Watch documentaries that challenge your views. Have conversations with people from different backgrounds.
Right.
The more you step outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
the better you'll become at understanding other people.
Expand your horizons. Got it. Now, what's the final pillar that brings it all together?
Last but definitely not least, we have social skills.
Okay.
This is what allows you to connect with people in a meaningful way,
Okay.
build strong relationships, and become a leader others trust and admire.
Okay, social skills.
Yep.
I feel like some people are just naturally good at this,
Right.
while others struggle a bit more.
Yeah,
Is it something you can actually learn?
absolutely.
Okay, good. While some people might have a natural knack for it,
Right.
social skills can definitely be developed.
Cool.
One of the most powerful social skills you can master is active listening.
Wait, active listening? You mean like actually paying attention when someone's talking?
It is, but it's a little more than that.
Oh, okay.
I thought everyone did that.
I know, right? It's more than just hearing the words.
Yep.
It's about being fully present and engaged.
Okay.
Think of it like this. You're not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Right.
You're genuinely absorbing what the other person is saying,
Okay.
making eye contact, asking clarifying questions,
Okay.
and reflecting back what you've heard to make sure you understand.
Okay, I see the difference.
Yeah.
It's like taking mental notes instead of just letting the words go in one ear and out the other.
Yes.
I can see how that would make people feel heard and valued.
Exactly. It's a game changer for building trust, resolving conflicts,
Right.
and just making those connections stronger.
I like it.
So we've covered our 4 pillars: self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and social skills.
Those are great.
They are.
They all sound amazing, but let's be real. Is there anything that can get in the way of developing these skills?
That's a great question, and you might be surprised to hear this.
Okay.
But one of the biggest barriers to developing strong EI is that most people actually struggle with self-awareness.
Wait, really? I would have thought most people are at least somewhat aware of their own thoughts and feelings.
It seems counterintuitive, right?
It does.
But it turns out that many of us have blind spots
Okay.
when it comes to our own behaviors and how we impact others. We might think we're coming across one way,
Right.
but others might perceive us totally differently.
Wow, that's eye-opening.
Yeah.
So what can we do to overcome this self-awareness hurdle?
Okay,
How
so
can we start seeing ourselves more clearly?
the key is to get outside perspectives.
Okay.
Talk to people you trust, friends, family, mentors,
Great.
and ask them for honest feedback about your strengths and weaknesses.
Got it.
It might feel a little uncomfortable at first,
Sure.
but their insights can be invaluable.
So it's about being open to feedback, even if it's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Exactly.
And don't be afraid to try tools like 360-degree assessments, which gather feedback from multiple sources to give you a well-rounded view of how you're perceived.
Good one.
Okay, so getting feedback is crucial for boosting self-awareness.
It really is.
Now, we've talked about what EI is and the 4 key pillars,
We have.
but I'm ready to get practical.
Okay.
What are some tangible steps we can take
Yeah.
to actually boost our EI?
Sure.
Where do we even begin?
That's where the rubber meets the road. It's time to put all this knowledge into action
Yeah.
and start leveling up your emotional intelligence.
Yes.
One simple yet powerful practice is to get in the habit of naming your emotions.
So instead of just feeling stressed or overwhelmed,
Yes?
I should try to pinpoint the specific emotion I'm experiencing.
Exactly. Are you feeling frustrated, anxious, discouraged? By putting a name to it,
Okay.
you're taking the first step toward managing it effectively.
Interesting. It's like once you know what you're dealing with, you can start figuring out the best way to handle it.
Right.
What else can we do?
Don't be afraid to ask for feedback. Remember, it's a goldmine for growth.
Yeah.
Talk to people you trust and ask for their honest opinions
Right.
on how you handle your emotions and how you interact with others.
It's not always easy to hear constructive criticism,
It's not.
but I can see how valuable it could be.
And of course, keep practicing that active listening we talked about earlier.
Right. Active listening.
It's one of the most powerful tools for building solid relationships and making people feel heard.
I can see that.
Good.
So to recap, we've got naming those feelings,
Uh-huh.
asking for feedback, and mastering active listening.
Yes,
3 powerful tools for leveling up our emotional intelligence game.
they really are.
What else should we keep in mind as we embark on this EI journey?
Remember, emotional intelligence isn't just about personal growth.
Okay.
It plays a massive role in how we navigate the world around us,
Right.
especially in the workplace.
I can see that.
Teamwork, collaboration,
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
Right.
It all comes down to being able to connect with people on an emotional level.
Exactly. And for Gen Z,
Yes.
we're stepping into this whole new world of remote work, virtual teams,
Right.
and constantly evolving technology.
For sure.
EI is more important than ever.
It really is.
It's like being able to understand and manage our emotions and the emotions of others
Yes.
becomes a superpower in this new world of work.
You nailed it. It can help you build stronger connections with colleagues, handle conflict with grace,
Right.
and even inspire those around you.
That's amazing.
This has been super insightful.
It has.
And I'm already starting to think about how I can apply these ideas to my own life.
I am too. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on why EI is particularly crucial for Gen Z.
Okay.
We're facing some pretty unique challenges compared to previous generations, right?
Absolutely. Gen Z is entering a world that's changing at warp speed.
Yeah, it feels like it sometimes.
The workplace is constantly evolving.
Right.
Technology is advancing at an unprecedented rate. And we're facing global issues like climate change and social justice movements
Yeah.
that can feel emotionally overwhelming.
It's a lot to process.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why developing strong EI is so crucial for Gen Z.
Okay.
It can equip you with the resilience, adaptability,
Right.
and emotional intelligence needed to navigate these complex challenges and thrive in this ever-changing world.
It sounds like EI is less of a nice to have and more of an essential skill for our generation.
I agree.
What would you say is the biggest misconception people have about emotional intelligence?
One of the biggest myths is that EI is all about being nice or soft.
Oh, interesting.
Some people think it means you have to be agreeable all the time
Right.
or avoid difficult conversations.
So it's not about being a pushover or pretending everything is fine when it's not.
Not at all. EI is about being aware of and managing your emotions effectively,
Okay.
which can sometimes mean setting boundaries, asserting yourself,
Right.
or even having tough conversations. It's about finding that balance between being assertive and being compassionate.
I like that, assertive and compassionate.
Yeah.
It's about being authentic and true to yourself
Yes,
while still being considerate of others.
exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
And here's another common misconception.
Okay.
Some people think EI is a fixed trait,
Oh, right.
that you're either born with it or you're not.
Okay.
But the good news is
What's that?
EI is a skill you can develop and strengthen over time.
That's encouraging. So
Yeah.
even if someone feels like they're starting from scratch, they can still learn to become more emotionally intelligent.
Absolutely. It's never too late to start.
I like that.
Just like you can learn a new language or pick up a new hobby,
Right.
you can cultivate emotional intelligence with practice and dedication.
This has been incredibly insightful.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I'm sure our listeners are feeling inspired to start working on their EI.
Awesome.
But before we wrap up for today,
Okay.
I have one final question for you.
Okay.
If our listeners could take away just one key message from this first part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
what would it be?
That's a great question. If I had to choose one key takeaway, it would be this. Emotional intelligence is not a luxury, it's a necessity. In today's world, it's just as important as those tech skills everyone's chasing.
For sure.
If not more so.
Absolutely.
By developing your EI,
Yeah.
you're not just setting yourself up for success in your career,
Right.
but you're also building a foundation for a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Beautifully said. And to all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
What's one small step you can take today to start boosting your emotional intelligence?
I love that.
Maybe it's starting that journal, practicing those deep breaths, or really tuning into your next conversation with a friend. No matter how small a step,
It's a step.
it's a step in the right direction.
Remember, progress over perfection.
Love that. We'll be back in a bit to continue our deep dive into emotional intelligence and how you can make it your superpower.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Let's keep this EI momentum going
Yes.
and explore some more practical tips that you can actually use in your everyday life.
Last time we covered the 4 pillars of EI.
Right?
Self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and social skills.
Those are important.
They are.
We need those.
I'm ready to go from theory to practice.
Exactly.
Give me those actionable insights.
And the great thing is, you don't need to make drastic changes overnight.
Okay. Good.
Even small tweaks can have a big impact.
Small steps, big impact.
Hey.
I like the sound of that. So where should we focus our energy? Which pillar do you think is the best place to start for Gen Z?
Let's circle back to self-awareness.
Okay.
It's all about getting to know yourself,
Right.
your emotions, strengths, weaknesses, and even those quirks that make you, well, you.
Right, and we talked about journaling as a way to boost self-awareness.
Yes, a great tool.
What other techniques can we add to our EI toolbox?
Here's one you might not expect. Pay attention to your body.
Okay.
Your emotions often show up physically.
Okay.
Before we even realize what we're feeling.
Like getting butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous.
Exactly.
I've definitely experienced that.
Or feeling your heart race when you're excited.
Right.
Your palms getting sweaty when you're stressed. By tuning into these physical sensations,
Okay.
you can learn to identify your emotions sooner, giving you more control over how you react.
So it's like our body is giving us clues all the time. We just need to pay attention to them.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What else can we do to tap into those self-awareness superpowers?
Another powerful technique is mindfulness.
Okay.
It's about being present in the moment,
Right.
noticing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment.
Mindfulness. I've heard a lot about that lately.
Yeah, it's really popular.
Is it like meditation?
It can be. Because I've tried that, and let's just say I'm not very good at sitting still and clearing my mind. Meditation is one way to practice mindfulness,
Okay.
but you can also bring it into everyday activities.
Oh.
For example, when you're eating,
Yeah.
really savor the taste of your food.
Okay.
When you're walking. Pay attention to the feeling of your feet hitting the ground.
Right.
It's about bringing your full awareness to whatever you're doing,
Got it.
even if it's something simple.
So it's not about sitting on a mountaintop chanting, oh.
Not necessarily.
Okay, good.
I can definitely get behind that.
How does mindfulness actually help with self-awareness?
The more you practice mindfulness,
Yeah.
the better you become at recognizing your emotions
Okay.
and understanding what triggers them.
Right.
You'll start to notice patterns in how you react to different situations, which gives you more control over how you respond.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these things fit together.
Awesome.
Mindfulness for the win. Now, let's talk about self-regulation. That whole keep your cool thing.
Right.
Which I know I personally need to work on.
One of the most effective strategies is reframing negative thoughts.
Oh, okay. How do we do that?
We all have those moments where our inner critic takes over.
Oh, yeah.
But instead of letting those negative thoughts spiral, try to challenge them.
Okay.
And look at the situation from a different perspective.
So let's say I completely bomb a presentation.
Okay.
Instead of beating myself up about it,
Yes.
I could try to focus on what I learned from the experience
Yes.
and how I can improve next time.
Exactly. It's about shifting your focus from dwelling on the negative to looking for the opportunity for growth.
I like that.
Another helpful technique is to create a mental list of your go-to coping mechanisms.
Okay.
Those things that help you de-stress and chill out.
Like a mental first aid kit for emotional emergencies?
I love that analogy.
It's a good one.
Think about what works for you.
Okay.
Listening to music, spending time in nature, talking to a friend, or maybe even just taking a few deep breaths.
Right.
Having a predetermined list can help you react more calmly and effectively
Okay.
when those challenging emotions pop up.
Having a game plan in place so I'm not just reacting on autopilot, that's super smart.
Okay, what about social awareness? We talked about empathy earlier, but any tips for actually stepping into someone else's shoes?
Yeah, that's hard.
It is.
Because let's be real, sometimes it feels like everyone's speaking a different language when it comes to emotions.
You're absolutely right.
And that's why active listening is so important.
Exactly.
It's not just about hearing the words, it's about truly understanding where someone else is coming from.
Right.
And a big part of that is paying attention to their nonverbal cues.
Yes.
Body language, tone of voice,
Yes.
facial expressions.
All of it.
So it's about picking up on those subtle signals that can tell us how someone is really feeling, even if they're not saying it directly.
Exactly.
Sometimes what someone says and how they say it can be two completely different things.
Very true.
By paying attention to those nonverbal cues,
Right.
you get a much clearer picture of what's going on for them.
You do.
That makes so much sense. It's like learning to read between the lines.
I like that.
Any other tips for leveling up our empathy game?
Asking questions is a superpower. Instead of jumping in with your own opinions or trying to fix their problems, show genuine curiosity about their perspective. Ask open-ended questions that encourage them to share what they're thinking and feeling.
So instead of saying, I know exactly how you feel, which, let's be honest, we probably don't.
Right.
I could try asking something like, what's that been like for you? Or can you tell me more about what's going on?
Perfect.
Okay, cool.
By asking questions, you're not only showing empathy, but you're also gathering more information, which helps you respond in a way that's truly supportive and helpful.
I love that. It's about approaching conversations with a genuine desire to understand. Okay, we've tackled self-awareness, self-regulation, and social awareness.
We have.
Now, let's dive into those all-important social skills. Those magical ingredients for building strong, healthy relationships.
Social skills are all about navigating those interactions with others. Whether it's with friends, family, coworkers, or even that barista who makes your morning coffee.
Right, all the people we interact with.
And one of the most fundamental social skills is communication, both verbal and nonverbal.
Communication sounds pretty straightforward.
It is, but...
What's the secret sauce for making sure we're communicating effectively?
It's all about being clear, concise, and respectful. Pay attention to your tone of voice, body language, and the words you choose.
Got it.
And remember, communication is a two-way street. It's not just about expressing your own thoughts and feelings. It's also about actively listening to the other person.
We've talked a lot about active listening today.
We have. It's really important.
But it really does seem like a cornerstone of strong communication.
It is.
And social skills overall.
It is.
What else can we do to step up our communication game?
Here's a skill that can be super helpful. Especially as you navigate the working world.
What's that?
Learning to give and receive feedback effectively.
Ooh, feedback.
Yeah.
That could be a tough one. Any tips for making the process less painful, both for the giver and the receiver?
When you're giving feedback, focus on specific behaviors rather than making general statements. For example, instead of saying, you're always late.
Don't say that.
You could say, I noticed you were late to the last 3 meetings. Is there anything preventing you from being on time?
So it's about being specific and objective. And not making it a personal attack.
Exactly.
And when you're on the receiving end of feedback, try to be open-minded and receptive. Even if it stings a bit.
It can. Feedback is a gift, even when it's wrapped in sandpaper.
That's a great way to look at it. It's easy to get defensive when we hear criticism.
It is.
But if we can shift our perspective and see it as a chance to improve, it becomes a lot less scary.
Absolutely. And speaking of learning and improving, remember that developing strong social skills is an ongoing journey.
It's a process.
It is.
It's not something you master overnight.
Nope.
It takes practice, patience, and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone from time to time.
For sure.
So true. It's like any other skill. The more you practice, the better you get.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on how we can actually make these practices a part of our daily lives?
Sure.
It's one thing to understand the concepts. But how do we move from knowledge to action?
That's the million-dollar question.
I know, right?
It's about making emotional intelligence a habit. Something you do without even thinking about it.
Habits, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do we actually turn these EI practices into habits?
You're not wrong.
I'm all about efficiency, but I also know that forming new habits can be tough.
But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Phew.
One of the most effective strategies is to start small and be consistent.
Got it.
Don't try to change everything at once. Instead, choose 1 or 2 things you want to focus on. And make a conscious effort to practice them regularly.
So pick one of the tips we've talked about today. And make it a part of my daily routine, something I can commit to.
Exactly. Without feeling like I'm adding a whole extra job to my to-do list.
Consistency is key. What are some other ways we can weave EI into our daily lives?
Sure.
Making it less of a chore and more of a natural part of who we are.
Another game changer is finding an accountability partner.
Ooh, interesting. Tell me more.
Someone who can support you on your EI journey and help you stay on track.
Like a workout buddy, but for emotional intelligence.
I love it.
It's a great analogy.
It could be a friend, family member, mentor, or or even a therapist.
Right.
The important thing is to find someone who gets it,
Yeah.
who understands your goals, and who's willing to check in with you regularly
Okay.
to see how you're doing.
Having someone to share the struggles and celebrate the wins with that can make a huge difference.
For sure.
And it also makes the whole thing feel less daunting,
Right.
knowing you're not in it alone.
You got it.
And don't be afraid to seek professional help if you need it.
Absolutely.
Therapists,
Yes.
counselors, coaches
All great resources.
can offer incredible guidance and support as you work on developing your emotional intelligence.
It's true.
They can help you identify those blind spots we talked about earlier
Yes.
and provide personalized strategies for growth.
It's so important.
That's such an important reminder. It's okay to ask for help, especially when it comes to something as complex and personal as emotional intelligence. Remember, we're all on this journey together.
Right.
And the more we invest in our emotional well-being,
Yes.
the more we empower ourselves
Right.
to create a brighter future, not just for ourselves, but for the world around us.
Beautifully said. This has been incredibly insightful.
It has.
I'm so glad.
And I'm feeling inspired to take action.
Awesome.
But before we jump to the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on one more thing.
Sure.
We've talked a lot about individual growth,
Right?
but how does EI come into play when we're talking about leadership?
Good question.
Is there a link between emotional intelligence and becoming a great leader?
That's a fantastic question, and the answer is a resounding yes.
Okay, great.
In fact, in today's world, emotional intelligence is arguably one of the most important qualities a leader can possess.
Wow.
It's no longer enough to just be brilliant or have all the technical skills.
Right.
You need to be able to connect with people on a human level.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does an emotionally intelligent leader actually look like?
Sure.
What sets them apart from the rest?
Think about the best leaders you've encountered,
Okay.
those who inspire you,
Right.
motivate you, and make you feel valued. Chances are
Yeah.
they possess a high degree of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
They're self-aware, empathetic,
Right.
and skilled communicators.
Okay.
They don't lead through fear or intimidation.
Right.
They create an environment
Okay.
where people feel safe to share ideas, take risks, and grow.
So it's less about barking orders
Right.
and more about fostering a culture of trust and collaboration.
Exactly.
Okay.
Where everyone feels like they can bring their best selves to the table.
That sounds like the dream. But let's be real, not everyone is naturally gifted with those leadership qualities.
Right.
But can EI be learned and developed?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Or are some people just born leaders?
That's the common question.
It is.
And the good news is
That's that.
that emotional intelligence is not something you're stuck with.
It's not.
It's a skill that can be honed
Yes.
and refined over time,
Exactly.
just like any other skill.
That's encouraging. So even if someone doesn't feel like a natural born leader, they can still learn to become one.
What are some of the best ways to develop those leadership skills?
There are so many resources available. To books and articles, to workshops and online courses.
Right.
The key is to be proactive,
Oh.
to make a conscious effort to learn and grow.
So it's about taking ownership of your own development
Yes.
and not waiting for someone else to hand you the leadership playbook.
Exactly.
And here's another key point.
Okay.
Investing in your EI isn't just good for your career.
Right.
It's good for your life overall.
It is.
When you're emotionally intelligent, you're better equipped to handle those inevitable curveballs life throws your way.
Yes.
Build stronger relationships.
Absolutely.
And create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling.
It's a win-win. But I'm curious, what are some of the biggest challenges people face when it comes to developing their EI, especially in the context of leadership?
Yeah, it's got to be hard.
One of the biggest hurdles is that voice of self-doubt.
Nope.
We all have that inner critic that tells us we're not good enough, smart enough, or experienced enough to lead.
Oh, for sure.
But here's the thing. You have to learn to silence that inner critic and believe in yourself.
Easier said than done.
It is.
But I totally get it.
Imposter syndrome is a real thing.
It is.
Especially for us Gen Zers who are just starting out in our careers.
Exactly. What are some practical ways to overcome those feelings of self-doubt and step into our leadership potential?
First, focus on your strengths.
Okay.
What are you good at? What unique talents and perspectives do you bring to the table?
Right.
Make a list of your accomplishments,
Okay.
big and small.
Got it.
Remind yourself of all the amazing things you've already achieved.
I love that. It's easy to get caught up in what we're not good at.
It is.
But focusing on our strengths could be such a powerful confidence booster.
Absolutely.
What else can we do?
Surround yourself with supportive people who believe in you.
Right, like your hype squad.
Yes.
Find mentors,
Yes.
coaches, or peers who can provide guidance and encouragement.
Exactly.
And don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Absolutely not.
Having a strong support system can make all the difference. Okay, so we've talked about believing in ourselves and building a supportive network.
Yes.
What about actually developing those leadership skills?
Okay.
Where do we start?
One of the best things you can do is seek out opportunities to lead,
Okay,
even if they're small.
got it.
Volunteer to lead a project at work.
Okay.
Take on a leadership role in a club or organization,
Mm-hmm.
or mentor someone who's just starting out.
Right.
The more you practice,
Yeah.
the more confident you'll become.
Experience is the best teacher. But what if those leadership opportunities don't exactly fall into my lap?
Good point.
How can I proactively seek them out?
Don't be afraid to speak up and let people know you're interested in taking on more responsibility.
Okay.
Talk to your manager network with people in your field.
Right.
And look for opportunities to showcase your skills and talents.
Be your own advocate.
Yes.
I love it.
What are your thoughts on the role of formal education in leadership development? Is it essential?
Okay.
Or are there other paths to becoming a great leader?
That's a good question.
Formal education can definitely be beneficial,
Okay.
but it's not the only path to success.
Right.
There are countless successful leaders who didn't follow the traditional educational route.
Yeah, that's true.
What's more important is having a growth mindset,
Yeah. Okay.
a willingness to learn and adapt, and a passion for making a difference.
That's inspiring. So it's not just about the degree you have,
Right.
but about the drive and determination you bring to the table.
That's exactly.
I like that.
And one last piece of advice for aspiring leaders.
Okay. What's that?
Never stop learning.
Yeah.
The world is constantly changing.
Yeah. Feels like it.
So it's important to stay curious,
Right.
keep learning new things,
Ah.
and be open to different perspectives.
This has been incredibly insightful.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I'm feeling fired up and ready to step into my leadership potential.
Awesome. I love that.
But before we move on to the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to touch on one more thing.
Sure.
We've talked a lot about the positive aspects of leadership.
Right. It's great.
But what about the challenges? What are some of the tough realities that come with being a leader?
That's a great question.
It can't always be easy.
It's not.
Leadership definitely has its share of challenges.
It does.
It's not always glamorous or easy.
Nope.
You're going to face difficult decisions,
You are.
navigate conflicts,
Yeah.
and sometimes even deal with criticism and setbacks.
It's true.
So it's not just about inspiring speeches and celebrating victories.
Not at all. Being a leader means being willing to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty.
Okay.
It means making tough calls, even when they're unpopular.
Right.
And it means learning to deal with pressure and adversity with grace and resilience.
That sounds like a lot to handle.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for dealing with those tough moments and bouncing back from setbacks?
One of the most important things is to have a strong support system.
Oh, okay.
People you can turn to for advice, encouragement,
Right.
and a healthy dose of perspective.
So those mentors and accountability partners we talked about earlier,
Exactly.
it all comes back around.
It does.
They can be your lifeline when things get tough.
For sure.
And don't be afraid to seek professional help if you need it.
Absolutely.
Therapists and coaches can provide invaluable support
They can.
as you navigate the challenges of leadership.
It's so important to remember that we don't have to go it alone.
We don't. What else can we do to build resilience and handle those tough moments with grace?
Develop healthy coping mechanisms for dealing with stress.
Okay.
Whether it's exercise,
Right.
meditation,
Right.
spending time in nature, or connecting with loved ones.
Okay.
Find what works for you
Right.
and make it a non-negotiable part of your routine.
Self-care is key. Okay, so support system, coping mechanisms, and what else? What's the secret to bouncing back from those inevitable setbacks?
One of the most important things you can do is reframe failure as an opportunity for growth
Oh, interesting.
instead of beating yourself up over mistakes.
Right.
Ask yourself,
Okay.
what did I learn from this? How can I do better next time?
So it's about embracing those imperfections and seeing setbacks as stepping stones, not roadblocks.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone.
Right.
Every leader faces challenges and setbacks at some point.
That makes me feel better.
It's how you handle those challenges
Yeah.
that defines your leadership.
This has been so insightful. I'm feeling energized and ready to tackle those leadership challenges head on.
Awesome. I love that.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to hear your thoughts on something that's particularly relevant for Gen Z.
Okay.
How does EI play a role in navigating the world of technology and social media?
Okay.
It feels like those things can be both incredibly empowering
They are.
and totally overwhelming.
It's true.
You're absolutely right. Technology and social media have become such integral parts of our lives,
For sure.
especially for Gen Z.
They have.
And while they offer incredible opportunities for connection, learning, and creativity,
They do.
they can also present some unique challenges when it comes to emotional intelligence.
You can.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest EI challenges that Gen Z faces in this digital age?
One of the biggest challenges is the constant barrage of information and stimulation.
Right, like information overload.
Yes.
We're constantly bombarded with news, social media updates, and notifications, which can be overwhelming and lead to emotional exhaustion.
Information overload is a real thing.
It is. I feel like I'm constantly scrolling and swiping.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to just disconnect and be present in the real world.
And that's where self-regulation comes in.
Okay.
It's about setting boundaries with technology,
Okay.
creating time for digital detox,
Right.
and learning to prioritize your mental well-being.
So it's about being intentional about how and when we engage with technology.
Yes.
Rather than just letting it consume us.
Exactly. And another challenge is the pressure to present a perfect image online.
Right. I hate that.
Social media often highlights the highlight reel of people's lives,
It does.
which can lead to feelings of inadequacy and comparison.
Oh my gosh, the comparison game is brutal.
It is.
It's so easy to fall into that trap of comparing ourselves to others and feeling like we're not good enough, pretty enough, successful enough.
I know. It's important to remember that what we see on social media is often a curated and filtered version of reality.
Right.
People tend to share their best moments, of course, struggles.
Yeah, no one wants to see that.
So don't believe everything you see online.
That's such a good reminder.
It is.
It's easy to forget that everyone's human and that behind those picture-perfect posts,
Right.
everyone is dealing with their own challenges and insecurities.
Absolutely.
What else can we do to protect our emotional well-being in this digital age?
One of the best things you can do is cultivate self-awareness around your social media use.
Okay.
Notice how you feel when you're scrolling through your feeds.
Right.
Are you feeling inspired, connected, or are you feeling envious,
Right.
anxious, or drained?
So it's about checking in with ourselves and being honest about how social media is impacting our mood and energy levels.
Exactly.
And if you're noticing that social media is having a negative impact on your mental health,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to take a break.
Right?
Unfollow accounts that trigger negative emotions,
Yes.
or even delete the apps altogether.
Absolutely.
Sometimes a digital detox is exactly what the doctor ordered. Any other tips for navigating the world of social media with our EI intact?
Remember that social media is just a tool.
Okay.
It can be used for good or for bad. Host speaker, welcome back to the deep dive.
I'm so ready for part 3.
We've covered so much already.
You're right.
The 4 pillars of EI,
Yeah.
tips for boosting self-awareness, managing emotions,
Right.
and even connecting with others in a meaningful way.
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
But now I really want to know how all of this EI stuff actually translates into real-world success.
That's a great question, and it's one of the most common questions I get from Gen Z.
Really?
How does EI actually lead to success?
Exactly. Let's talk about how EI can help Gen Z thrive in the workplace
Okay.
and become those awesome leaders we talked about earlier.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
Think about it.
Okay.
Gen Z is entering a work landscape that's unlike anything previous generations have experienced.
In what way?
Remote work, virtual teams, global collaborations.
Oh, right.
It's a whole new ballgame.
And with those new opportunities come new challenges, right?
Definitely.
How do you build strong relationships and trust when you're not always face-to-face?
It's tough.
How do you lead effectively when your team is scattered across different time zones?
Exactly. Those are some of the big questions Gen Z is grappling with.
They are.
And the answer, in many cases, comes down to emotional intelligence.
Okay, so how does EI actually translate into tangible results in the workplace? Give us the specifics.
Okay, so first and foremost,
Yeah.
EI is the foundation for strong relationships.
Okay.
When you can understand and manage your own emotions,
Right.
you're less likely to react impulsively or take things personally.
Right.
That makes you a better communicator, a better collaborator,
Yeah.
and someone people genuinely enjoy working with.
Right. No one wants to be that coworker who's always stressed out
I know.
or blowing up over small things.
Totally. And when you combine that self-management with empathy, that ability to understand and connect with other people's emotions, you're able to build trust and rapport even in virtual environments.
So it's like EI helps bridge the gap when you're not interacting face-to-face all the time.
Exactly. And here's the thing.
What's that?
It's not just about being a good teammate.
Right.
EI is also the secret sauce for effective leadership.
Okay, tell us more about that.
Sure.
What does it actually look like to be an emotionally intelligent leader? What sets those leaders apart?
Emotionally intelligent leaders are inspiring.
Okay.
Because they lead with authenticity, empathy, and clear communication.
Right.
They create a culture where team members feel valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their best work.
I like that.
They don't rely on fear or intimidation.
Right.
They motivate and inspire through genuine connection.
So it's about creating a positive and supportive work environment where everyone feels like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Emotionally intelligent leaders understand that their team members are not just resources.
Right, they're people.
Yes. They're human beings with their own unique strengths, weaknesses, and aspirations.
And you got to respect that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They create space for their team members to grow, learn, and thrive.
That sounds amazing. But let's be real, not everyone is naturally gifted with those leadership skills.
Right.
Can EI actually be learned?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Or are some people just born leaders?
That's one of the biggest misconceptions about EI.
It is.
People think it's something you're born with, but the truth is, it's a skill you can develop and strengthen over time.
Absolutely.
Just like you can learn a new language or a musical instrument, you can learn to become more emotionally intelligent.
That's so encouraging.
It is.
So even if someone doesn't feel like they're a natural-born leader, they can still work towards becoming one?
What are some practical steps they can take to start developing those leadership qualities?
The first step is to make a conscious decision to prioritize your EI development.
Okay.
Read books, listen to podcasts, take workshops, find a mentor.
Right.
There are countless resources available, and then it's all about putting that knowledge into practice.
Okay, so look, what does that look like?
Look for opportunities to lead, even if they're small.
Okay.
Volunteer to head up a project at work, join a club or organization, and take on a leadership role. Mentor someone who's just starting out.
Got it.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
So it's about taking action and getting experience.
Yes.
It's not just about reading about leadership, it's about actually doing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And as you gain experience, you'll start to develop those essential leadership skills of communication, delegation, conflict resolution, decision-making.
Right. You learn by doing.
You do. And here's the thing, investing in your EI isn't just good for your career, it's good for your life overall.
I love that. It's about becoming a better, more well-rounded human being.
Exactly.
Okay, last question before we wrap up this deep dive into EI. If you could give our Gen Z listeners one piece of advice, what would it be? What's the one thing you wish you had known when you were starting out?
That's a good one. Embrace the journey.
Okay.
Developing emotional intelligence is a lifelong process. There will be ups and downs, challenges, and triumphs.
Right.
Be patient with yourself, celebrate your wins, learn from your mistakes, and never stop growing.
That's beautiful. And on that note, we're wrapping up our deep dive into emotional intelligence.
I hope everyone enjoyed it.
We hope you've enjoyed exploring the power of EI and that you're feeling inspired to make it your superpower.
Remember, the world needs your unique talents and contributions.
Go out there and make it happen.
Thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive.
We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into something amazing.